Hi everyone, this is Nomkhosi Xulu-Gama. Welcome back to my channel, Notes from a Pad. So this is gonna be the last video that I do this week, but also the last video that I do on hostels in South Africa. It's the third video reviewing this book, and obviously it's getting not an unfair advantage, it's getting an advantage because the author of the book is myself, and this is my channel. So yeah, like why not? But also, I think the book is good, and I think the reviews are also good. So I'm actually happy that I'm getting a chance to share them with the rest of the world, of which like I understand like a lot of people haven't read the book, and a lot of people who might be watching have not also read the reviews. So yeah, I'm just kind of making it easy for them. So this one is gonna be shorter, thank God. This book review has been written by Stephanie Quinn, and Stephanie Quinn is working at the University of Free State in Bloemfontein, South Africa. They are based in the International Studies Group at UFS. So this review was published in the Canadian Journal of African Studies. Again, I'm going to drop the link below for you guys. So I'm just gonna go on reading, and like I said, this is a shorter version. This is a shorter review, actually. It says Hostels in South Africa, Spaces of Perplexity by Nomkhosi Xulu-Gama. Okay, maybe I'm gonna try and face this direction. Although I'm not looking at you guys since I'm reading. The primary site of Nomkhosi Xulu-Gama's ethnography, Guamashu Hostel in Durban, housed several hundred male migrant laborers when it opened in 1960. Today, the hostel block houses surrounding informal settlements and partially built family housing that the South African government calls community residential units, CRUs, accommodate upward of 25,000 men, women, and children. As before the 1986 repeal of influx control in South Africa, the hostel and its environs serve as a node in the movement of residents and their kin, romantic and sexual partners, and friends between rural and urban sites of livelihood and meaning making. The ethnography focuses on the efforts of the post-apartheid state to transform the hostels from spare, tightly surveilled single-sex dormitories for male migrant workers whom the apartheid state deemed whom the apartheid state deemed, wait, I'm gonna find it. It disappeared. F1 call came through on my laptop. Okay, whom the apartheid state deemed, okay, let me start the sentence. The ethnography focused on the efforts of the post-apartheid state to transform the hostels from spare, tightly surveilled single-sex dormitories for the male migrant workers whom the apartheid state deemed rural people temporarily out of place into long-term affordable housing for families. Speaking to a literature that has often highlighted structural effects of migrant labor on Black South African households and cultural formations, Xulu-Gama sees hostel dwellers as the primary producers of belonging and cultural rootedness amid conditions of dislocation and backed expectations. In her words, by examining rural-urban migration as a means of multiplying and diversifying livelihood opportunities, I have tried to show that rural-urban connections did not originate with the democratic era in South Africa in 1994, or with the abolition of influx control in 1986, or with the beginning of apartheid in 1948, but with the actual production of the hostels as gendered spaces, which was influenced by the establishment of the spatial division of labor through the labor migration system in South Africa. The government has encountered both the opposition of hostel residents and the durable effects. Reading this is proving to be difficult. And the durable effects of the infrastructure and social legacies of apartheid in its hostel transformation program. Okay, let me read the sentence again. The government has encountered both the opposition of hostel residents and the durable effects of the infrastructure and social legacies of apartheid in its transformation program. In order to trace hostel dwellers' pursuit of belonging, respect inhlonipho and livelihoods when hostels defy both past apartheid frameworks and the current policy language. Xulu-Gama employs what RECTAS has termed the cultural formations approach. The approach looks at changes in the realm of high politics from the ground up, tracing how workers responded to the marginalized effects of migrant labor, alienation, disvaluation, dysphoria, and degendering in conditions of racial capitalism by pursuing new adaptive kinds of civic virtue. In a broad sense, Xulu-Gama characterizes the half-transformed hostels as spaces of perplexity, pointing to ways in which the hostel renovation process has confounded expectations and produced contradictions. But she makes another deeper contribution that the book's subtitle submerges rather than highlights. Xulu-Gama's critique of Sitis's work on hostels and livelihoods is that in his theorizing, he fails to problematize the taken for granted roles of men and women in migrant labor in hostel literature, so that he sees degendering chiefly as a crisis of masculinity. This is in page 192 of the book. Xulu-Gama's ethnographic research involved men and women from multiple generations spanning KwaMashu hostels and the 3 rural areas in KwaZulu-Natal. The opening up of rural urban migration and former male-only residential spaces to women since 1986 has impacted entire households, destabilizing existing gendered household roles and livelihood strategies that bound geographically stretched communities together, just as much as the institutionalization of migrant labor in the late 19th and 20th centuries did. The physical transformation of apartheid-era hostels, therefore, has caused local conflicts. For instance, over communal spaces shared between men and women, as well as crises in collective understanding of the roles of men and women, parents and children, and the grandchildren, wage labor and social grants, and the urban and rural income generating activities. Xulu-Gama is especially adroit at drawing out the ways that the physical renovation of the hostel stands in for profound questions about gendered propriety and responsibility. Senior men object to the transformation of the hostel into family housing, arguing that during apartheid, hostels were places where male household heads could live with dignity because they were earning money to support their families in rural areas. During apartheid, they say wives could stay at the hostel temporarily, but apart from the conjugal visit, it was the responsibility, and in one elderly male informant's words, it was a right of a wife to remain in the rural areas. This is in page 202 in the book. Xulu-Gama notes that this was a view that many Black South African women shared. Yet collapsing rural livelihoods broadened possibilities for women to act as breadwinners with the 1986 repeal influx control and the introduction of social grants, which Black women disproportionately access. All while men increasingly struggled to find well-paying employment, have forced women to rethink their roles in South African households. They have shouldered increased financial responsibility for their families, survival on top of domestic and caretaking obligations. Xulu-Gama provides illustrations of perplexity in various senses throughout the book. She is less systematic in delineating the national political processes underlying the perplexity that migrants have experienced during the process of the hostel development. For instance, while in her conclusion she describes her examination of KwaMashu Hostel as an effort to see the impact, the results and consequence of the shift in the ruling government from RDP, Reconstruction and Development Program, policies to the neoliberal policies, she provides little context about these changes or what her evidence says about them in page 234. While she refers to collapsing rural urban livelihoods, she situates neither the social grants nor the problems of and underemployment that her informants reference in literature on neoliberalism, the changing structure of the South African economy, or the politics of distribution. Embedding her analysis in these literatures might have enabled her to move even more effectively from the micro to the macro, from the hostel community to the South African community. This is in page 234. The work might have been further enriched if Xulu-Gama had couched her findings in analysis of how communities have grappled with the gendered and moral implications of migration and urbanization elsewhere in Africa. Overall, this is a sensitive, incisive ethnography of migrant workers in the post-apartheid South Africa. By highlighting ways that the hostel dwellers engage in the production of gendered urban space, Xulu-Gama provides a trenchant take on the disconnects between state policy and Black South Africans' experiences of the lingering infrastructures of apartheid. This is a book review by Stephanie Quinn, who's based at the UFS University of Free State in Bloemfontein. And this publication is in the Canadian Journal of African Studies. And yeah, obviously I had to take more airtime, more space, discussing the three, or rather reading the three different reviews of the same book, because yeah, unfair advantage. Fair advantage. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for engaging me throughout this week. Thank you for engaging me and for watching and listening to these book reviews. I think it has been an interesting exercise, and I'm appreciative of the fact that I've been able to actually upload a video every single day. Actually, it's even more than 5 videos, because for my book I did 3. Thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for watching and commenting. See you in the next video.